Thanks again for tuning into yet another video. We are looking at the relay here for the Sportster, the LP6. You guys can see that I just made this. So these are outdoor relays. That's why they're huge like this. But you don't need a five pin or whatever you want to call this relay. You just need a 4. So this is how the LP6 works, or most of your harnesses work. So you have 2 relays, one for your low beam and one for your high beam. All right, and pretty much the red cable, or the 30, is your battery supply wire. And then you have your ground on these. Then you have your switches, and then of course the 87. Is that what it is? Yeah, 87 is the one that goes to your LP6. So these are of course the ones that are going to be connected to the LP6. All right, so you have a red wire and you have a white wire. So the wire colors, they don't really matter. You just have to memorize which one's which. Now you can see that the red one is a smaller gauge wire. It's a 16 gauge, so that's sufficient for a low beam. And then you guys can see the white wire, it's a little bit thicker, and this is a 14 gauge wire. So this is going to be for the high beam, this is going to be for my low beam. And you're probably wondering, hey, how are you going to ground it? So I'm going to splice into my ground and then supply that to the LP6, of course. And then you're probably wondering, hey, where's your daytime running lamp? Now that's going to be connected directly to the LP6 to my stock OEM harness, because you don't have anything like that with these relays. These relays are just to power your low beam and your high beam. And then your LP6, your daytime running lamp, that's connected directly to your headlight, because it's low voltage. Oh yes, it's all of it's 12 volts. It's just the amps. The amps to run your LP6 requires beefier wires. Okay, so that's why we're using these relays. All right, so now that you guys know that, you guys are probably wondering, so where's the remote switch? And this, it's the white wire. So you could also see 16 gauge on these. So these ones, they really don't do anything other than activate the contact in these relays to supply battery, to supply the voltage to your LP6. These are, you could use smaller gauge wires. These are, I believe these are like 20 on these. You could see it. I don't believe it doesn't say on the side. This is, oh yeah, here we go, 20 gauge wire on this one. I believe this is also 20 gauge. Yeah, this is also 20 gauge wire. So this is your remote. This is what activates the contact inside the relay and then supplies power to your light. So these are of course the remote, or the switch, or whatever you want to call these. And these are going to be connected to the OEM harness on my Sportster. So these are going to be spliced into my headlight harness. So these two are the ones. Plus, like I said, it's going to have my daytime running lamp, because Sportsters only have 3 wires. But you do have a 4-pin connector on your OEM harness, so you could, like I said, you could connect directly to your harness, to your OEM connector. Because like I said, it's a 4-pin, but you're only using 3 wires. You could, put a terminal on one of the wires and then put it in that connector, and you have a 4-wire connector. So pretty much that's just showing you guys how this is going to be connected, because once it goes inside of the bike, I'm not going to be taking it out. So all of this, you see electrical tape, but underneath the electrical tape, I went ahead and I heat shrinked all of these wires. So you can see that the power, they're both connected, all right? They're jointed. I spliced them into them, and I made them into one connection. So just to kind of clean up this whole mess, I'm gonna still cut into all of this because I have more wires on the bike, and then I'm gonna solder everything together just to kind of get it to work. And you can see that it's got a bend to it right here. So like I said, there's not a lot of space left on the Sportster. I don't want to put these in one of my storage units, like my saddlebags or my swing arm bag. So what I'm doing is I'm going to put these on the front of the bike where the horn is, and then that's going to be kind of in place. And of course these are wrapped up like this, so so they could go into underneath the fuel tank, and then I'm gonna connect all of these wires properly. So I'm gonna use an easy fuse tape, wrap this around, and then I'm gonna put a sleeve on these where it starts to kind of make contact with the engine. It's not supposed to make contact with your engine, but this is where it starts to get closer to the V-twin. So all of this is going to be, of course, covered up by a sleeve, a high temp sleeve, just to kind of protect all these wires. So that's pretty much the way it's going to be installed, and maybe I'll film that process too as well. So you guys should probably check out some of my other relay videos, just so you guys get a better understanding how this kind of works. It's like I said, it's pretty straightforward. It's just the only thing I did was, you know, just jointed my power and my ground, because it's all going to be connected together anyways. All of that's going to be connected to the battery. And like I said, these are just the remotes. Sorry for repeating myself, but this is going to be the last time. And then these are the wires, the heavier, the thicker gauge wires. These are the ones that are going to be connected to my LP6. And then all of this is going to be, you know, it's going to turn on when the bike turns on, and then the high beam is going to turn on, because that's what the switch does. All right, so as soon as the switch on the low beam shuts off, and then I turn on the high beam, the 12 volts will be redirected, and then my my high beam on my LP6 turns off. So that's the way it works. If there's no current, there's no voltage going to the remote wire on the low beam, then the relay shuts off, and then of course the high beam turns on, because now there's voltage to the remote switch, and then that's what supplies my high beam. And so you don't you know, burn out your LP6 if you have both of them turned on, because you could do some damage to the circuit board on the LP6 if you supply both of these at the same time. But like I said, they're going to be connected to the harness, and then the harness does, you know, the switching, and then of course these relays are going to be supplying the power to the LP6. So let's go ahead and let's get to work. Hopefully you guys kind of understand what I'm doing with these, but I was thinking about, you know, just connecting all these wires so you guys could see before I put it on the bike, but I already have another video on that sort of stuff, so just check out that video and see how these relays work. All right, let's get to work. All right, so we've gone ahead and installed the relays. As you guys can see, I had to relocate the horn, so I'm thinking about putting the horn somewhere underneath this area right here. So I removed the horn and I installed the outdoor, of course these are outdoor relays, so that's where I installed it. You can obviously see, and then of course this is easy fuse tape, weather sealed, heat, all that good stuff. Like I said, I'll probably still use the fiberglass sleeving, probably still use that though. So you can see how it kind of turns up in between my radiator and the frame, and then it just shoots up from there. So here is all the wiring right here. You can see this is the sleeving of the wire, it's in here, and then you can see the easy fuse tape goes from the easy fuse to this sleeving, and then all the wires are out here. So if you guys remember, you gotta of course remember what wires are what. So these wires right here, these are for the horn, and then these are the wires for the relays. So I already know which one's my high beam and which is my low beam. This is my high beam, that's what's going to be connected to the LP6, and then this is the low beam, the red one, that's what's going to be connected to the LP6. And then we have the remote wires, which are up here. These are my remote wires. I have the blue one, that's my low beam. I have the white one, that's my high beam. So this is going to be connected to this connector right here. This is my OEM connector. All right, you guys can see that right there. All right, so we know, because I already tested these. So the black is your ground, the yellow is your low beam, the white is your high beam, and then of course you can see this connector over here. So that's your daytime running lamp. That's the blue one. So I'm going to I'm gonna crip a terminal to my LP6 and then connect that directly over here. So now I'll have a 4-wire connector, and then that's gonna have my my amber or my running lamp on the LP6 turned on whenever the ignition's on. So then of course the remote wires, whenever they get voltage, they'll activate the relay, and then the relay is going to send the volts, the amps, to my LP6, which are these two. So this one right here, high beam, so that's going to be connected to the white one. The blue one's going to be connected to the yellow one. That's my low beam. And then of course I could either connect my LP6 to this wire, which is my ground, or I could connect it to this ground wire. Either or, they both work. They're both going to be grounded, so that doesn't really matter. And then like I said, the daytime running lamp is going to be connected directly through this connector right here. So that's pretty much it. I have, this is the wires that are connected directly to my battery. So this is, like I said, I already installed this underneath the fuel tank, but I'm thinking I'm gonna move this fuse to, you know, inside my seat. You know, I'll probably cut this up. I mean, it's already kind of too long anyway, so I still have to trim it, and then, you know, tuck in all these wires underneath this area. There's still a little bit of room in here, so I'm going to, you know, zip tie all the wires in there, and then have everything kind of tucked in there. And of course I'm going to use more easy fuse tape, or I'm going to use this sleeving that I have here. I'm going to use a little bit more of that stuff just to kind of, you know, make sure it's weather sealed, and of course treated for the, you know, for the heat, because it's going to be right on top of the front cylinder. So I mean, a lot of the wires are here, so I really don't think it's going to be an issue as far as temp. But anything around, you know, this area where the exhaust is, you know, the jug, I'm gonna try to use the high temp sleeving. So just giving you guys an idea how the LP6 is going to be connected. Hopefully that kind of helps out. If you're having, you know, trouble understanding, I have videos on relays, so you guys can check that out. So that's how you connect an LP6 on a Sportster, or any bike. I mean, you could do this with your Dynas or your Milwaukee 8s, or you could just buy the kit. The kit's going to cost you a little bit over 200 bucks, and you don't have to worry about, you know, doing all this stuff. It comes cut and fabricated for your model, and then you just connect the battery, and then, you know, you connect the LP6, and you're pretty much done. You don't have to, you know, it just takes out all the guesswork. And especially if you don't have the tools for this to solder it properly and all this other stuff, then you know what, you're probably better off just spending the extra $220, unless you have an idea on how to do it. You know, you can do it yourself. I've already done this quite a few times. All right, you guys stay out there, stay safe. We'll cut back in once I figure out the bracking system for the LP6. I'm still, you know, figuring stuff out on how I'm gonna mount it, because I have to make sure it fits within the fairing. So stay tuned. All right, so here we are. I've soldered all the connections. You guys can see all the electrical tape. Behind the electrical tape, we have, of course, we have heat shrink. So everything's heat shrinked, everything's soldered. You know, a bunch of soldering for this type of work. So you guys can see it's connected over here as well. I haven't wired my main lines, so I still have to, of course, figure out how I'm going to mount the LP6. I believe I'm going to reuse this. I don't know yet. This might be a little bit too long for the LP6, but we'll see. I have an idea. A U-bolt, a U-clamp, or a tire clamp connected to the LP6 bracket itself. So that's what I'm thinking in my head. I might be able to get that to work. I don't know. So let's look at this rat nest of wires. So we have the LP6 connector, which is a Dutch connector, of course. 4 terminals. I've connected the running light. So we have, of course, the OEM connector right here, and that's pretty much what's powering my relays, which are in front of the bike. You guys already know it. They're right there. You can kind of see them right there. Those are my relays. So all right, We have the connector that provides voltage for the relays. The relays activate my main lines, which are these two. These are the lines that are feeding the LP6. So we have the high beam, which is the white one, and we have the red one, that's the low beam. And then we have the yellow wire, which is my always running light, which is my accessory on. So that's connected, of course, to over here. You guys might not be able to see it, but you see how that solid blue wire? That's your always on or running light. You have the blue white one, that's your high beam. The blue yellow one, that's your low beam. And then, of course, the black one, that's your ground. So we have that. And like I said, these two wires, which you don't see, these two wires, this is what powers the relay. So this is power from the battery, and that's connected to the relay. So that's what activates the relays, is these two wires. So we still have to, like I said, I still have to wire these. They're right over here. I gotta wire that, and I'm pretty much done right here. So of course, heat shrink, electrical tape, and then we're gonna use, of course, the sleeving right here. We're gonna cover all this stuff up, and then I'll probably do some easy fuse tape. Just wrap all this stuff, make sure everything's you know, just protected from, of course, the engine heat. And then, of course, we are going to zip tie all this mess. We're going to zip tie this right in here. We have quite a bit of room here. We're just going to make sure all these wires are nicely tucked and zip tied away from the engine. So that's pretty much it. And then, of course, we're going to, you know, route this back over towards the front of the bike, and then that's what's going to connect to the LP6, and then that's how we're going to connect that. So that's how you connect a LP6 4 wire, because you have, like I said, you have this terminal, you have this connector, and this is actually a 4-wire connector, but with your OEM it's only a 3-wire. So that's pretty much it, guys. You guys could go ahead and stay tuned. Again, I'm going to fabricate a bracket for the LP6, and then we're going to figure this out slowly but surely. We're gonna make sure this thing works, right? Thanks for tuning in. Let's get back to work. All right, so in case you guys are wondering how am I mounting this bracket, I'm gonna use my headlight extension bracket from Memphis Shades, and I'm using this U bracket. I believe it's called the U bracket. I'm not sure what it's for, but I saw it, and my head started, hey, I could do this with it and probably adapt it, and it looks like I can. So this was like, how much was this? This was like 11 bucks. So you could either buy the bracket off of one of the suppliers, it'll cost you like 160, or you can fabricate your own thing. And this looks like this is gonna work. So let's go ahead and put this together. In case you're wondering, hey, how did you mount it? U bracket, I'll look for the link and I'll put it in the description of the video. So this is how we're gonna mount it. All right, so we mounted the bracket. Looks pretty good. It's still loose because I gotta, of course, arrange it so it fits in between the fairing. So I'll probably still have to loosen up this back piece because it's not going down. I think it sits a little bit too high the way it sits. So I'm gonna have to either trim this bracket to move it back, or just push this down and then, of course, move this up so it's a little bit down here, not this high, because right now, like I said, I think it's just sitting too high. We're gonna have to loosen this and then just drop this arm down like over here, and then we'll see how the fairing fits. So it's just one of those things you gotta keep on, if you're not buying the easy bolt-on kit, which is, like I said, it's 160 bucks, you're just gonna have to keep on adjusting and moving the stuff around. There's also another kit where it attaches to the frame, but I have a quick detach fairing. So if I'm gonna do that, then what's the point of me having quick detach if it attaches to the fairing itself? I'm not going to be able to use the light. All right, so let's go ahead and install the wires, because we still haven't done that. We got to hook up these wires, and we got to, of course, wrap it in the easy fuse tape. I haven't done that either. So let's go ahead and get ready to connect the relays to the battery. I haven't done that yet, so let's get to work. All right, so we're pretty much done cleaning up all that mess. You guys can see that I've tucked it in nicely right in here. Easy fuse tape heat shrink, everything. Of course, we got to make sure this is 100% safe. All right, so you can also see the easy fuse right here, easy fuse tape with electrical tape. You know, I'm using everything I got. So this is the wire for the relays for the headlight. So you can see it's not it's still, you know, it's, I tried using the fiberglass sleeve, but once I started, you know, stretching it, it seems like it's coming apart. So I don't know. I think the easy fuse tape is good enough for 500 degrees. How much can it withstand? Up to 500 degrees Fahrenheit. That's pretty hot. I believe this rear cylinder, sorry, this rear jug gets to about 300 plus 400 degrees. So I think if you're hitting 500 degrees on your engine, that's pretty much engine failure or something. You know, I don't think this should be hitting 500 degrees, but it's not touching. Luckily, that's what I noticed with the 4.5 gallon tank. You don't have a lot of room to tuck in wires. A lot of the stuff, you know, it's getting pushed out. So I'm going to use zip ties just to kind of keep stuff away from the you know, from the rockers here. So I already put a couple zip ties over here. Everything's pretty much cleaned up. I got my Plex audio wire right there. That's already connected. Let's look at this other rat nest that we have over here. So we have quite a few different things here. We have a relay for my light bar. We have the fuses for the relays, of course, and we also have, of course, this other X connector for the NOCO charger. We have a lot of stuff on the positive terminal, so I think it should be fine, I believe. But you could, you know, see from right here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, I believe 5 different eyelets on that battery terminal. And you could also see where I grounded my wires, so they're grounded right here. I could probably move some wires over to the other side. You see, I don't know, I think I'm gonna keep them right here. It's working, I believe. So far this is where I've had it for, you know, the last year, and I haven't had any issues. So my ground terminal on my battery only has one eyelet or one connection, and that's this sucker right here. That's the only one that's connected to it. I believe the ground can, you know, something along the lines that it can short if it's not, it doesn't have proper contact. So that's why it's always a good idea to kind of ground somewhere else and you're not overloading it. Something about a short atmosphere, a spark or something like that can melt the battery terminal. So we have all of this kind of cleaned up. You guys could see what I've done with the connector. Like I said, I think I'm gonna move this down. I gotta loosen this, but let's go ahead and connect it. So we have right here the LP6 connector. I'm handheld the camera, so let me grab the bolts so we can see how it looks, and put that in there, of course. So, you know, it cleaned up pretty nicely after I pulled out, of course, the Road Thunder soundbar. You know, this is a thick cable. I pulled that out, and that's what gave me enough sufficient room for the new wire that I put in there for the relay. So relays are down over there, you guys can see. Let's go grab the bolts for the LP6 and mount this up and see how it, you know, looks, and see how it mounts. All right, so we went ahead, mounted loosely. You know, we loosely mounted the LP6 so it doesn't fall over or scratch or anything like that. I have a huge mess right here. Look at this, man. This is, you know, it's just one of those things. You either buy the plug and play kit for, you know, $220, or, you know, you make your own, and, you know, you have this kind of mess. So let's go ahead and put this ignition on. Let's see, and we have the daytime running lamp. You guys can see right there. Keep in mind, I connected that wire to the connector underneath the tank. Remember, guys, check out the video. I have these spacers right here. You can see that it doesn't really quite fit as it should, but I mean, it is what it is. Like I said, you can either spend $160 or, you know, just fabricate something. Nobody's gonna look at this, honestly, but I don't think anybody's gonna really notice. So now we have the running lamp, and then let's go ahead and put it in on position So you can see we have light, and that is bright. So let's go ahead and turn on the high beam, and when I turn the high beam, this light bar should turn on as well, because this is also connected to a relay. And there it is. So we have the high beam. Wow, that's bright. And we have the light bar down here. So we have a ton of lighting right now, a ton of lighting, and all of this is connected via relays. I can't see, I'm blinded. Let's go ahead and turn that off. You can hear the relay engage and disengage as well. You can hear it. Let me just get the camera right here. You hear that little clicking? That's the relay. That's the contact engaging and sending power. So remember, we have two relays. One's connected to the low beam, one's connected to the high beam. Once the remote wire disengages, you know, the relay turns off, and it should protect our LP6 from overloading. Yeah, because you're not supposed to have the high beam and the low beam engaged both at the same time. You could damage the circuit board inside of the LP6. So I am very, very happy with the results. You guys can let me know in the comments, what do you guys think? Like I said, I think we're still gonna, I'm gonna turn this off, I can't see. We're gonna see what we can do with this. I'm not too sure if this is gonna stay like so. I don't think it looks that bad. Remember, this is for the fairing, which is right over here. We have the fairing over here. I don't believe this is gonna fit. I believe this is just a little bit too high. So we're just gonna loosen it, and then we're gonna put the fairing on there, and you know, we're gonna move stuff around, and hopefully we can get this thing to fit. So hey, thanks for tuning in. I know this is a long video, but man, this is quite a bit of a project. You know, we're talking about quite a bit of hours. We have a lot of stuff here going on, a lot of electrical stuff, but now we're gonna have more lighting. So let me finish doing this, and then I'll probably add some footage after, like a walk around with the LP6 and the fairing, everything kind of complete. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching yet another video. That's how you connect an LP6 to a Sportster. Thanks for watching. I'll do another video on the reasons why I decided to go with this instead of the Daymaker, instead of the China knockoff, instead of the Amazon Light, which is down over here. I'll just show you a side-by-side example, or whatever, a side-by-side in another video footage. All right, stay out there, stay safe. Later.